Wayland Yutani got bought out by Walmart. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Alien Resurrection is often considered the worst of all the Aliens films. Although I can't say why. It's got great characters, it's got great sets, and the story is at least mostly interesting. Although the French weirdness didn't do it any favors. Well, despite the movie being a bit weird, it would get a game adaptation for the PlayStation 1. Well, was it as good as the film? Was it as weird as the film? Well, let's fire up RetroArch and find out.
Alien Resurrection was developed by Argonaut Games, the same guys behind Star Fox. The game would take a fairly long time to develop, and it would come out several years after Alien Resurrection the movie came and went. And it finally saw the light of day on October 20th of the year 2000! This is a late game in the PlayStation's life cycle, and it shows just how much power the PlayStation could bring to the table. Although, I'd say that, Turok looks a lot better, and that game came out in 1997. Get in or get out. Now what we have here, lads and lasses, is a first-person survival horror game. You take the role of a number of characters from the movie, and in each level you will play as a different character, and they will be different in some small ways from one another, such as Christy being able to dual-wield pistols like he did in the movie. You will primarily be fighting the very Xbox Brown Xenomorphs, and they are wily foes, and they move pretty fast and can jump and hang on walls. Pretty advanced for the PlayStation 1. The facehuggers are a major enemy and a one-hit kill, and they come in huge numbers. And this game does something that no other Alien game did. When you get facehugged, you don't die immediately. Instead, you can play for a few seconds and then get bursted. A neat element, if a little bit self-indulgent, Argonaut. You'll also fight humans now and again, and their AI is alright, but nothing special. Like a true first-person shooter, you will have a good number of objectives to complete, and they even worked in killing Ripley's genetically debased clones into the game. It's a bloody waste of ammo, and I guess it's gotta be a chick thing. You get a good number of weapons. You start with a pistol, and I'm not exaggerating, this pistol comes straight from the dollar store. In fact, most of the weapons in the movie are based on weapons seen packed in with dollar store action figures. Not hating, but still funny nonetheless. Your pistol is piss weak, and is mostly useless. It can kill some humans, but Xenos, forget about it. By the time you have killed a Xeno with it, you've already been eaten, digested, and now you're being used as fertilizer in the ship's vegetable garden. It's got infinite ammo, and it's best used to blow up crates to get ammo for the real guns. You got the double barrel mag-fed pump action shotgun. Well, at least we know that Keltec made it to the 24th century, and it's a pretty good Xeno killer. You got a laser rifle, and it's a gun that's straight out of Family Dollar. Then you got the shock rifle from the movie, and it's also straight out of Dollar General too. All the weapons are pretty good, but none are really better than any other, except for the pulse rifle. Yes, even though the stupid movie didn't have it, the game does. It's only got 60 rounds this time. The new 60-round pulse rifle gives you a lot of firepower, and ammo for this rifle is pretty plentiful. Since this is a game from the early 2000s, the game features non-regenerative health, and health packs are collected and stored, and can be used when you really bloody need them. But if you take a lot of damage, they will get auto-used, and this will help keep you alive for 5.2 seconds. Oh my god, this game is too goddamn hard. So this game got panned for its controls, which are just modern controls that have been used for the last 24 years. Yeah, you really don't hate gaming journos enough. The controls are great, but they're too bloody slow. The bloody fecal-colored Xeno bastards zip around the levels like they just snorted about 10 tons of coke. And you move like Joker from Mass Effect when he's out of the bloody pilot seat. In short, you can't move fast enough to fight the Xenos effectively, and they do a massive amount of damage to you and can literally kill you in 5 goddamn seconds. And it gets worse. This is a survival horror game, meaning you have less bullets than a Californian in July of 2020, meaning that even if you can turn around in time to fight a Xenomorph, unless you make every bloody bullet count, you will run out of ammo and be forced to use a dollar store pistol, and well, you're gonna get mulched. The Xenos come in huge numbers, and this is really impressive, but it does make the PS1 chug a bit. The combination of slow to respond controls and limited ammo means that it's not a fast-paced shooter, but instead a slow and methodical methodical horror game where you have to make every bullet count and you better memorize every spawn point for the Xenos, otherwise you will die every couple of seconds, and even save states can only help so much. All they had to do was increase the weapon and ammo spawns, and decrease enemy damage and speed by a lot, and finally decrease enemy spawn rate. Then the game would have been a lot more fun and a whole lot less frustrating. Now, do I recommend it? Believe it or not, yes, this is not a bad game, but a hard game, and if you are a hardcore challenge gamer, you will love this game, and it will give you a run for your money. If you are not one, however, you still might want to give it a little try with save states, as it's a true Alien game, and there is some good stuff to be found, and if all else fails, there's always the cheat codes. Infinite health and ammo go a long way towards making this game a little more playable. Graphically, this game looks mixed. The levels and level textures look damn good, but the rest looks like shit. Oh dear, those Xenos. But hey, PS1, you know, get in or get out. The graphics are still impressive, especially when you consider that this game uses a lot of 3D polygonal graphics on a system that was doing good to run the original Doom at the start of its life cycle. Since this game is atmospheric, the music is limited and forgettable. Voice acting is also minimal, but they did get the guy who voiced the Father Computer System to record lines for this game. Story for the game is pretty bloody limited. You have an opening cutscene that acts more like a trailer. If you haven't seen the movie, you will have no idea what is going on, like, at all. The game and the movie take place 200 years after the end of Alien 3, for some reason. What's with the time skips in Alien content? Ellen Ripley has been resurrected through depraved cloning experiments conducted by the United Systems military. She was brought back so the USM could get the Queen Burster from Ripley so they could then create xenomorphs. Cause, we wouldn't have a plot if they didn't do that? Ripley somehow has her entire mind back, despite now being an alien-human hybrid with acid blood somehow. Since Ripley is now a xeno-human hybrid, the movie is totally going to explore what that would do to the human psyche, right? It's not just going to have Ripley play basketball and act a little twitchy and then get the hots for Winona Ryder, right? Such a missed opportunity for drama. Ripley in the movie just acts a little weird and then boom, Ripley classic. It seems to me that the movie intended Ripley to act more evil, as many characters have a hard time trusting her, despite her acting more noble than just about everyone. If Ripley had acted more cold and distant or violent and wrathful, then we could have had some great drama as she tried to keep herself under control. We should have seen Ripley go from sanguine to bilious in 1.2 seconds. Instead, she wants to go down on Ron Perlman. Yeah, it's funny, but not really dramatic. If they had gone the cold and distant route for Ripley, we could have had a creepier scene with Ripley and the clones. In the movie, she finds her failed clones and starts going nuts in an emotional and empathic way. She empathizes with the clones and puts them out of their misery. If you wanted Ripley to have some actual development, she should have had a more alien queen point of view and instead viewed the clones as pale reflections of perfection, and instead turned a blind eye to their suffering, and then, and only then, have her regain her humanity at the end of the movie when she needs to save someone selflessly. Alas, that would have been too advanced for a simple little movie like this. In addition to Ripley, you play as the new Xeno fodder. They come from a ship called the Betty, and if you are a fan of the TV show Firefly, you will notice a vague resemblance between the characters in Alien Resurrection and the ones in the show. The crew of the Betty can kind of be seen as a beta for the later crew of the Serenity, and that's because Alien Resurrection was written by Joss I Have Crap Dialogue Whedon. These guys are not as heroic as the people in Firefly, as they're a bunch of space pirates that you kind of want to root for a little, but they are human traffickers and they are responsible for all the Xenos. Yes, they brought human colonists for the USM to use in their Xeno studies. So they're a bunch of murderers, which makes it pretty rich that Annalee Call, the Winona Ryder character, has a hate boner for Ripley for no adequately explained reason. And in the game, Call bitches Ripley out despite being an accessory to human trafficking and murder. Your main objective is to escape the ship on the Betty. Eventually you fight the newborn. And what's that? Well, see, the alien queen eventually mutates and gets a human womb? France, and gives birth to an alien-human hybrid. The newborn sees Ripley as its mother in the movie, but in the game it's the final boss. The newborn is a creepy design, and more could have been done with it, but alas they just went with snarly monster, and as you would expect, it gets defeated. In the game, you just shoot it till it dies. In the movie, it gets a horrible death where it gets sucked out into space. The movie and game ends with the USM Auriga crashing into Earth's atmosphere. See, look at the screenshot. See, it burns up in the atmosphere because that's the only thing that makes sense. Thanks to stupid social media posts, non-fans started saying that the ship crashed into the Earth and destroyed it. I get that Alien Resurrection wasn't the best, but you don't have to make shit up about it. Sadly, this social media stupidity would become quasi-canonized by a novel, and in that novel the ship crashes into France. Seems legit. So what happens to Big Rip and the boys after the movie? We get two conflicting storylines. First, we got the graphic novel called Aliens vs. the Predator vs. the Terminator. Just rolls right off the tongue, am I right? And it brings these three franchises together in the Alien Resurrection future for some reason. And in the distant future, sleeper Terminators are combining themselves with xenomorphs. Ripley gets back into the space shuttle thanks to Call and teams up with the Predators and sacrifices her life for humanity. A decent ending to her storyline. Later, we would get the novel Aliens Original Sin by Michael Jan Friedman, and this would be the very first Dark Horse Press novel. And man, that imprint was pure crap, and this novel was not much better than the dross that would follow it. The novel takes place in its own continuity and would feature Ripley and the Betty going after USM Xenomorph Labs. The novel would end with Ripley learning that the USM was working with the Malcac, aka the jockeys, aka big albino engineers, and that storyline, for all its promise, would never be followed up on again. The end.
Alien Resurrection is a fun but flawed movie, and the game is pretty much the same. If it's been since Y2K since you got mulched by a Xeno, pop this into RetroArch and have some fun. And so, I am General Lotz, wishing you good AVP2, and good Aliens Infestation, or whatever makes you happy.
If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing, and please consider leaving a like or a comment, as the algorithm desires your soul. And I want to thank all those fans who have supported this channel, both past and present.